a brooding billionaire vigilante, a colorful rogues gallery, and a city in need of a savior. These are the essential elements that make up a good Batman story. Some of the best Batman stories ever told were on Batman the Animated Series. Not only did it push the character of Batman and his vast supporting cast to untold heights, it also redefined what children's animation could accomplish. Which begs the question, what's the perfect episode of Batman the Animated Series? How about an episode that instead of focusing on the Dark Knight himself, puts its primary lens on his rogue gallery of villains? But before we get too deep, please like and subscribe to the Nerdstalgic channel to stay up to date with all of our videos. Batman the Animated Series is arguably the definitive version of the world's greatest detective. After literally dozens of live-action and animated films, multiple TV shows, countless video games, and over 80 years of comic books, that's no easy statement to make. And yet, it's a widely held truism at this point. Its brooding atmosphere, precise character work, timeless feel, and brilliant writing have all withstood the slow grind of time. The series is even more highly regarded today than when it made its splashy debut in the early 1990s. What sets Batman the Animated Series apart from the legion of other adaptations of The Dark Knight? It all comes down to two men, Eric Radomski and Bruce Timm. These two rookie animation industry journeymen were working at Warner Brothers during the late 1980s, when, off of the breakout success of Tim Burton's Batman 1989, the powers that be decided to move ahead with a Batman Saturday morning cartoon to further solidify the character in the booming kids animation marketplace. However, what could have been a standard cheesy execution of a comic book character, like this, or like this, Radomski's out-of-the-box thinking and art directing skills, and Timm's dedication to treating the comic book source material with simultaneous reverence and seriousness proved to be a winning combination. The show's mature tone, intricate character work, and stylish execution were instantly hailed as groundbreaking. The episode that is widely hailed as the most beloved is Heart of Ice. The episode recontextualized one of the long-running, yet not particularly popular villains, Mr. Freeze, into a sympathetic and tragic character. The show completely rewrote his origin, redesigned his visual aesthetic thanks to a new character designed by Hellboy creator Mike Mignola, and cemented the show as a force to be reckoned with in the daytime animation arena. This specific episode even went on to win a Daytime Emmy for outstanding writing in an animated program. However, that's not the episode we're here to talk about today. We're going to take a look at an underappreciated episode that displays a perfect understanding of what makes Batman and his rogues gallery work. We're going to talk about Almost Got 'Em. The episode in question, number 35 of Season 1, follows 5 of Batman's villains as they sit around a table in a smoky pool hall somewhere in Gotham and play cards together. The episode alternates from each of their perspectives as they profess various occasions upon which they, quote-unquote, almost got 'em.
Nobody's come closer to snuffing the Batman than me.
From the opening title card, you know this episode is going to be something special. The slinky jazz number that the music starts playing isn't the usual brass or violin-based Danny Elfman-influenced sweeping orchestral piece. It's a slower, seedier, more intimate piece, which instantly sets the tone for the episode. Almost Got 'Em, and truly many of the standout episodes of the show were written by Paul Dini and directed by Eric Radomski, two of the key creative figures behind the scenes tackling a high-concept episode of the show. You know it's going to be good right from the get-go.
I want a nice, clean game, gentlemen.
The episode opens with a table of villains playing poker. We join them in media res mid-conversation. Two-Face is saying,
I don't think it is one guy.
The other villains at the table, Penguin, Killer Croc, the Joker, and Poison Ivy, all have their suspicions about who or what is under the cowl. All of the characters' responses and dialogue are perfect. Even if you were just reading the lines on a sheet of paper, divorced of voice acting and context, you'd still be able to immediately tell who is who based on the syntax of how they speak and the things they're choosing to talk about. It's brilliant writing. With every line, Dini is driving home character, character, character. It's expressly the point of this episode. Each villain is taking turns describing how they came so close to killing the Caped Crusader. Poison Ivy tells this story about a poisonous pumpkin patch where Batman was almost rendered unconscious. However, at the last moment, he was able to use a remote control for the Batmobile to foil her plan and save himself. Two-Face tells a story about robbing the Gotham Mint. Of course, he was stealing $2 million in $2 bills with the help of a gang of henchmen nicknamed the Two-Ton Gang. What ensues is a fairly quick fight scene of Batman attempting to stop them, getting captured, strapped to a giant penny, Yes, the giant penny from the Batcave, and then escaping and stopping them in classic Dick Sprang Batman style. Killer Croc claims he's come the closest to killing Batman.
I threw a rock at him!
Which is a perfectly in-character line because the Batman the Animated Series version of Croc isn't a misunderstood circus performer like in the comics. He's just an idiot. Penguin details his aviary of doom while using alliterations almost exclusively.
I find your middling machinations mildly diverting.
And Joker discusses his late-night talk show of death with a built-in laugh-o-meter, which once the audience laughter gets to a certain level, will electrocute Batman. And here's where we get the big twist revealed. After Joker finishes his story and confesses that he has Catwoman locked up in a manufacturing plant on the other side of town at this very moment, Killer Croc stands up and we see that Batman has been pretending to be Croc the whole time, which is where one of the coolest shots in all of Batman the Animated Series happens. Him standing up and the swinging light revealing the cowl in silhouette for a split second. Almost Got 'Em succeeds in ways that are unique among the adapted Batman canon. It structurally feels like a comic book from the 1960s. The multiple stories with the connecting wraparound narrative is straight from the Mort Weisinger era. Big ideas, bright characters, and Silver Age antics. The fact that each of the stories we're seeing have the point of view of the villain in question makes it even better. Batman is often thought of having one of the most unique and idiosyncratic rogue galleries of all time, and this episode is perfect evidence to that thought. Each villain has their own voice, their own style, and their own approach, which is all laced throughout the narrative. It really is a love letter to the Batman villains in question. It's played straight, even the campy or larger-than-life elements. It fully embraces how ridiculous this all is and still treats it like it's really happening. This is a show made by people who love these characters and think that because they're so larger than life, they deserve to be the stars of the show, just this once. You don't get the overly serious Batman that Christopher Nolan propelled to Oscar nominations without Batman the Animated Series, showing everyone how to both embrace the dark and brooding side of the character's universe and the brightly colored and frankly silly side as well. It's a perfect hybrid that shows you the best of both worlds. It's a crash course in everything cool about Batman. If you had never seen or watched or read any Batman material previously, you could watch this episode and instantly get a good sense of what it's all about. And that's to say nothing of the ending moment of the episode where, after Batman has helped free Catwoman, they have an emotional exchange on the rooftop where she says, "Maybe someday we can have a life without the freaks."
Maybe without masks.
Only to turn around and realize that he's vanished into the night, and then mutter,
Almost got him.
"If that's not how you end a Batman story, I don't know how." Well, that's it for this episode of Nerdstalgic. What'd you think? Should we do Beware the Grey Ghost next? Or how about a perfect episode of Batman Beyond? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and, as always, please subscribe to the Nerdstalgic channel to keep up with everything we've got going on. Thanks.